accurate measurements, because without accurate measurements you cannot have an accurate block. I mean, if your measurements are wrong, everything else is wrong from then on. Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kimia Andrew and I'm the pattern tutor. So today I'm going to be taking measurements. Now the reason why I'm doing this video is so you can see how I take my measurements and why I apply certain measurements at certain places. I'm going to be using myself and my trusty just from here, just to show you how you're going to take these measurements. And the first thing I'm going to do is to get me a bias tape. You can use an elastic band or your bias tape, either will work. So I'm going to find where my natural waist is. Now, your natural waist is really the smallest part of your waist. Usually you can bend. For some people, you can obviously see this measurement, but for others, you might have to have them bend so that you can check. So for me, I have to like bend to the side this way. Yeah, that way. That becomes my natural waist. So see where my natural waist is. Now I'm going to take my tape, bias tape, and tie at that position. All the way to my back, just follows this line this way. So that is my natural waist. Now on my form, I have this elastic band here. It also serves as a natural waist for my form. You can see. So as you know, we have three different classes of measurements. We have the lengthwise measurements, we have the girth measurements, and we have the widthwise measurements. So your girth measurements go round your body, or the circumference measurements. The lengthwise are measurements that are taken vertically, and the widthwise are measurements that are taken halfway through the body. So measurements that are taken vertically across the front or vertically across the back. So I'm going to take this measurement category by category. Now the first is the girth-wise measurement. So these are circumference measurements. So I'm going to be taking these measurements round, round, round. Change shape. So remember that I take measurements in centimeters. Let's start with our neck circumference. Now when you're taking your neck circumference, you should be taking, not to choke the person, but take it like you're placing a nice snug necklace on your client's neck, either your neck or your client's neck. Right? Let it sit like you're just wearing a nice snug necklace. The next is my bust circumference. So it should lay flat on the back, this way. Like that. Make sure that it goes over the peak of the bust. Goes over the peak of your bust into the back, flat. You have your underbust, popularly known as your underbust. So under the bust, on your brow wire, this should also be flat on the bust, this way. Circumference. And now remember I said I have my natural waist, my navel line, and my lower waist or pelvic line, right? So for my natural waist, I'll be taking this tape measurement. So now when you're taking this measurement, let it be a bit snug, because you would want your garment to sit on your body, not tight. Let it just be a bit close, like let it sit the way you would want, like a nice comfortable skirt to sit, not tight, not loose, but close to the body. Can you see? I don't know if you can see how it looks on me, but yeah, that's that's my natural waist. And then for my navel line, you can literally just touch that. Okay, so yeah, this is my natural waist. This is my navel line, sorry. So this is it, right? And then it should be a bit lower at the back. Follow the line. Yeah. Then we have my lower waist, just above my pelvic bone. Right? Not tight, please. Let it just sit on the body. So your navel line and your lower waist, when you're taking the measurement, it should just sit on the body. Just not it properly. Right, and have that. Okay, so this is my lower waist. I have my hip now. I mean it's obvious that you can see that I have this protrusion going on here, but this is not where my hip is. This is where my thigh is. Obviously this is my thigh, so this is like a thigh protrusion. Now when I'm taking my hip measurements, you will take fullest part of your bum. You know where we call that hip dip? That's where your hip is, right here. So that's where I'm going to take my measurements. You can use tape or something. Let me use a tape. That's where my hip is. So see, this is where my hip is. So for taking hip measurements, I'm going to measure in this on the tape that I have. And what I have is 100.5 centimeters. So that's my hip measurement, 100.5 centimeters. Now I can see like there's this obvious protrusion here, which I usually would just attribute as my this is like a thigh protrusion, so it goes with my thigh, right? But I'll take that measurement as well so that I see. Take about 3 measurements around your hip, and the one that's the biggest you use. So just below my bum, I'm going to take that measurement, and this is 100 cm. This is 100 cm, so it's just slightly less than this, which is fine. I'm still going to use this 100.5, and yeah, that's my hip circumference. Next, I have the above knee circumference. So most times, these measurements, although there are standards to this, you would have from the natural waist to the knee minus 10 cm, but I like to have more fit in my garments before they air out. To see the kind of body I have, I don't want it to go too low before I take my above knee. So what I do is from my waist to the knee minus 20 cm, waist to the knee minus 20 cm. So I'll check this lengthwise measurement, waist to the knee here. This is here. This is 62 cm. I held it so that by the time I bend, it won't affect my tape. 62 cm minus 20 cm, 42 cm. So this is 42 cm here, which I'm absolutely happy with. So that's where I'm taking my above knee circumference. So here, like that. Now, to make it more practical, you take a step forward. How you walk, that's the measurement you use. And I have 90 centimeters. So 90 centimeters is what I'll be using for my above knee measurement. So we have other circumference measurements like our armhole. You take round the armhole, right? You have your bicep, which let's see if I can figure that out. So for bicep, you take this way. Take your tape measure this way. bicep circumference, right? And then for your ankle, you take it around the ankle, not too tight. This you can use and still apply to your block if you want it to be nice. If you want your block to take into consideration maybe what you would wear. But if I'm taking this like a close measurement, it should just be around my ankle like this. But this is tight. You can't. I wouldn't want a sleeve like this. So take it comfortable. And that is comfortable, right? So that's my armhole circumference. Then we have elbow, right? Hands akimbo. Always bend the hand. Then I take that measurement. I'm doing this without any help. So yeah, bend the elbow, and then you take a measurement, right? Let's go over the elbow, okay? Then your wrist, right? Not too tight, just light on the hand, just light on the hand like that. I'm looking at my mirror so that I'm sure I'm doing the right thing. That's my elbow. Then we have your close fist measurement. So how you wear your clothes. I really don't pay attention to how I wear my clothes, but I assume it's this way. I think I should start paying attention to that. So over the knuckles and down here, 21 centimeters. Other girth measurements would include your chest. So chest this way. When you're taking the measurement, the arm should be down. If you take it with this, it's going to give you a much smaller measurement, which you can use for dresses anyway. So if you're taking it this way, take it tight this way. You can use this measurement for when you're making strapless dresses or that. So for our girth-wise measurements, remember they are the measurements we divide by 4. This is because we draft our patterns or we plot our blocks in quarters. So you're working with quarter of the body, half of the front, half of the back, so quarter of your full circumference. So when you're working with girth-wise measurements, most times we divide them by 4. So always keep that in mind. Now the next class of measurements are our length-wise measurements. Now these are vertical measurements that you take down the length of your body. So starting with, we have our shoulder to bust point or bust depth. So you have from the shoulder neck point up here to your bust. Now we are taking this measurement. Have to take it in a way that you make sure that you drop your tape over the bust, and the part where the tape stops before you start seeing space between the body and the tape, that becomes your bust point. So most times you can just ask your client to touch their nipple if they're comfortable, or you can just use that trick. So whichever one works for you. That's your bust depth, and that's also your shoulder to bust point. Now the next is your empire length, or your shoulder to under bust or bust point length. So this is under the bust, stops directly where your brow wire stops. So just put your hand there and that's it. Then I have my front bodice length. So in some spaces this is known as the half length. So you take the measurement from the shoulder neck point down the bust to the under bust and then to my tape. Right? So I will take this just below the tape. This will stop below the tape. So that's my front bodice length. Then you have your full front length. So this over the bust, over the going under bust, and then it just touches the floor. So the measurement just touches the floor. That's how you measure for your full front length. This is like your dress length. So for the back, we have our back bodice length. So this is from the SMP, shoulder neck point. Place your tape from that point all the way down to the bottom of your tape. So that gives you your back bodice length. This is the shaping measurement, very important. it is when you don't get this measurement right that you start having folds when you put zips around your waistline. So this measurement is very important, so always have this measurement. Also our full back length, so from the shoulder neck point as well to the waist, and then this would follow the bum all the way down, just touching the floor, just kissing the floor, Then we have the side seam measurement. So this measurement you take from your armpits, just here, and then down to the waist here, right? So whatever you get here, you now subtract that by 2. So I have 20 minus 2, I have 18. So 18 cm is my side seam. Then we have our waist to hip measurements. Now remember that we have 3 waist positions, so we have to have waist to hip measurements for all 3 waist positions. So starting from the first, remember that my hip measurement is around here. Let me tag the tape again. So I'm going to take all my measurements, stopping just below the tape. Now for our waist to hip measurement, we actually have standards for it. So usually from your natural waist to hip, the measurement usually falls between 20 to 25 cm. So if you fall below that, I mean, there are situations where it can go beyond that, but most times, and a lot of times, I mean, your measurements will fall between 20 to 25 cm. So always try to work within that frame. So for my first, I'm going to take my measurements from under the tape here to just below my measuring tape for the hip, and I have 21 cm. So 21 cm from my natural waist to my hip, and then from my navel line, so I have 17 cm. 17 cm is from my navel line to my hip. So from my natural waist, from my pelvic bone, which is like here, right, to my waist, to my hip, I have 13 cm. So yes, 13 cm. With standards, you would find that a lot of the time your measurements fall between 4 to 5 cm. The difference between your natural waist and your navel line is 4 to 5 cm. The difference between your natural waist and your pelvic bone is 4 to 5 cm. So I have difference of 21 to 17, which is about 4 cm, not so bad, and then 17 to 13, which is about 4 cm as well. So yeah, I actually fall within the standard. We also have our sleeve length measurements fall under our lengthwise measurements. So for my sleeve, I would take from my bone here, so this bone, right? If you can't find the bone, ask your client to lift their hands, and then you just touch that and find the bone. Place my tape over the bone and this way, and then you take the measurements. Yep, working in as usual. So yeah, this, you can take your shoulder to elbow, right, and then from elbow all the way down to your wrist. So I have 62 cm. So that's what I have for my wrist measurement. So the reason why we do this is so that you have this comfortable fit with your sleeve. It might seem a bit long when you release your hands, but the movement, you want that space for your movement. Your waist to your above knee. So remember I said it goes from your waist to the knee minus 20 cm, and I have 42 cm. So 62 minus 20, 42 cm. I also have my skirt measurement. So from your waist, as you can take from any part of the waist where you want your trousers to start from. So it could be from the natural waist, it could be from the navel line, it could be from the pelvic line. So any of these measurements down to your ankle, these are measurements that you take for your trouser length, or your skirt length. So these are my lengthwise measurements. So if I'm going to need more measurements in the future, I'm going to definitely take those measurements and show you how I use them. Now the third class of measurements are our width-wise measurements. So this is where your shoulder width, this is where your shoulder measurement comes from, this is where your apex to apex or bust distance comes from. So I'll show you how I take those measurements. Now, starting with my shoulder length. So shoulder length measurements, I take from the shoulder neck point to this bone, right? So shoulder neck point to this bone, but I'm using this lady here. So we take from the shoulder neck point to the bone here, right? And we use that as our neck, as our shoulder length measurement. Now I also have my front cross shoulder, so across your shoulder at the front and across your shoulder at the back. So we take it from bone to bone, from here to here, this bone's here, right? This and this. Take it from bone to bone, across the front to this point. That's your across shoulder front, and your across shoulder back. Same thing, bone to bone at the back. So bone to bone at the back for your across shoulder back. Now we have our chest width measurement. So this falls between like halfway through your ankle, right? That's where this falls. So from here to here. So from here to this place. That's my chest width measurement, right? Then still in front, I have my bust distance. So from this point to this point, right? You can ask your clients if they're comfortable to touch to show you where their nipple falls, and then you put your tape from the start to the end of the nipple. So first nipple to the second, that is my bust distance. Then for the back, we still have our back width. So again, halfway through your armhole, right? So you take that measurement, this to this. Make sure you take into consideration this point here. If you cannot really decide where your shoulder falls, you can actually use your chest width to help you guide it. So you can just take from the chest width all the way just straight up, right? And that will give you where you can find your shoulder length points. So there you have it. These are my measurements, and this is how I take my measurements. I've already drafted my basic bodice. I've extended it, and I've drafted a basic sleeve as well. I'll be dropping links in the description below. If you haven't seen those videos, these measurements that I use in this video, this is basically how I take them. Thank you so much for always watching. I look forward to hearing your comments. Please drop them in the comment section. If you have questions, please you can drop them in the comment section. You can also tag me on Instagram at the pattern tutor. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to this journey that I'm embarking on, just posting my knowledge here on YouTube. And yeah, I look forward to the community that I'm trying to build here, hoping to give of myself, give all my information, and hoping to help other people be able to build from their knowledge. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, so